I would love for people, particularly young people, will pick up my comic and they'll see like an editor's note and they'll Google it,
Yeah.
and they'll just say, oh, what's that? And then they'll Google it and they'll realize, holy crap, that's what that means. That's really cool.
Working in events since 2005, I've always been inspired by people coming together to share ideas. I'm Amanda Younger, and I'll be your host on Happy Hour, where I share a drink and a laugh with guests over stories and our hope for the future of the live event experience. Today, I'm talking with CK Reilly. He's the creator and writer of theshatteredstar.com and Golden Bullet Entertainment. He also kind of writes over at Sony. Anywho, you'll be seeing those TV shows lately. Of course, you can always see him on Apple Books, Amazon, Cosmicology, or directly from Golden Bullet Entertainment, which we will give you all those websites later in the episode. Special thanks to Laxamana Media. You create, we capture. Capturing this, Chris? Yeah, he is. He's great. Also, thank you to Black Dirt Bourbon. Boom. Small batch. It's from Warwick, New York. You're delicious, by the way. Black Dirt takes its name from the dark, fertile soil left by an ancient glacial lake that once covered thousands of acres of upstate New York. That's also why I chose this particular one for my drink. So Black Dirt Bourbon, I wanted that earthy texture to the drink, which is I actually have Angel's Flight today, which is going to be great. It's going to tie into our topic. But anyways, Black Dirt, to bring it back to the earth and what we're kind of talking about, right? So all of your mythologies and your stories, it'll kind of stem from that, and there is nothing better than something that comes from upstate New York. It is fertile, beautiful, dark soil that makes corn look so good, and I like it when it's in liquid form. Anyways, be sure to continue the conversation with us online at eventspeak.com. We took a break to have another sip because it's delicious. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio, and favorite us on Stitcher to get all upcoming episodes and help others find our show. Be sure to comment below. We love as much feedback as possible in our early stages, and a promotional giveaways in the works, so check back in soon. Together we can make the difference in live events. Well, it is so great having you with me today. I see that you are drinking a fantastic Guinness.
I'm just a Guinness. I'm a beer guy, so nothing fancy for me.
Nothing wrong with that. I did a little something special for you because I know our topic today, and this is actually called Angel's Flight.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's the Archangel Gabriel, Angel's Flight. There you go. Awesome.
So yeah, it's basically a margarita with bourbon is what it is.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Very
simple
good.
syrup and lemon juice and orange liqueur with a little Cointreau. And then I actually used the Black Dirt Bourbon there because it was like black dirt, like the earth. Gotta get out of that. So I went with Black Dirt Bourbon, which sounds gritty and earthy. And so hopefully Angel's Flight comes and helps out the
Thank you.
And the people on it.
Cheers to you. Well, I guess Guinness is kind of in keeping with Gabriel. So Celtic, I guess, mythology plays a big part in the story. So so Guinness is certainly, I guess, in keeping with my Irish brethren. Not to mention my last name is Reilly. So so yeah. So I guess I'm part Irish.
There it is.
So,
Tell everyone who you are and what you do and how you enjoy your happy hour, apparently with the Guinness.
Absolutely. So, well, my name is Chad. CK, I guess, is I'm kind of known as CK Reilly. I am by trade, a screenwriter and a playwright. And then I got into this whole comic book thing a couple years ago. And I guess my first love is screenwriting, film and television. And when we worked at MRY, I kind of told you about that. And that was what my passion was. That was what my background was, writing movies and TV shows and all that stuff. And I worked at Sony Pictures for a number of years before I moved to New York, where I was actually developing television programs for all the shows that people now binge watch and most likely hate. But
nobody's hating TV right now. Trust me.
Well, I was going to say it's been kind of a lifesaver right now.
Getting us through. Getting us through.
Yeah. So when I moved to New York, I got into theater because New York City is, of course, a theater town, and I wrote a play while I was in New York City. And it was called Margot, and I had tremendous support from MRY. There was a lot of people at MRY, like, Allie's Warren. Hope I'm allowed to say that. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because,
nice, Allie.
Yeah, as well as many others there, like yourself, really supported that and had a great turnout. And it was picked up by the American Theater Company in Manhattan, and there was a full-on stage reading. And so the theater community in New York was great. I was also working at the Gallery Players in Brooklyn, which is this off Broadway theater with a lot of tradition and a lot of history. And I was house managing there. So I kind of morphed into this typical New Yorker while I was there. I had 5 or 6 jobs and didn't even know it.
Show up here during the day, show up there.
Didn't even realize it. I just woke up one day. I was like, crap, how did I get all these jobs? But it really kind of expanded my horizons creatively. Working in theater and also working at MRY, working in marketing. That has brought some invaluable insights into the marketing and promotional aspects of this, which we'll get into a little bit later. And from MRY, I actually moved back to LA to continue sort of pursuing film and television, which is kind of tied to Gabriel, because I moved back here because of this feature that I had written, which was kind of the starting point for this new massive universe, this the Shattered Star universe, as I call it.
Yeah, and this is a 6-part series, right?
So Gabriel is a 6-part series, and the feature that I had written actually takes place in the present day, whereas Gabriel takes place in the ancient past.
Right.
And Gabriel is kind of a prequel to that movie. It kind of sets up the whole universe. It sets up the whole IP. And that was why I moved back to LA, and then serendipitously I ended up back at Sony Pictures. So, because I knew everyone there and they knew me, so they were just come back, work for us. I was okay. So yeah, so I'm at Sony, but I've been able to devote most of my time to this project, Gabriel.
The Pantheons.
Yes, he's going to all these different pantheons, and he's recruiting an army to stop Yahweh, which of course is the God of Abraham.
Yes. That's good. Yeah. I say always be brave in what you're doing, and if that is the doubt and fear somewhere in the back, then you know that you are being brave in your writing.
Well,
So keep being brave, and all controversy does is give it more attention, and and hopefully, sure, it may bring naysayers or people that don't understand it or become angry by it, but out of that, it'll at least get the attention to the people that'll enjoy it, that will
like I said, if it's
that will go
exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes!
Well, if it's controversial, then that means that the writing was good.
Yeah,
and that people are into it.
But it's true.
Yeah, and that people are into it because people are looking at it and they're kind of scrutinizing it. So
wonderful. I love it. Yeah, because like everyone who is listening, we did meet at a marketing agency called MRY. This was back in the day, and of course we were in very different departments. I was in operations department, And gosh, Chad, you were an account manager? Which one?
I was, yeah. So I was in client services.
Yeah.
And I was an associate account executive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I managed all like the brand ambassador programs and,
right.
and, you know, went to CollegeFest in Boston.
Yes,
and, you know, that we were there togetger.
Yes.
And you helped me set up my booth, you know, which was really cool.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very fond memory. Yeah. And
don't do it like that. Do it.
Yeah, no, it was great. You know, like organize the table this way, and you know, that was a very fond memory. I was repping PlayStation. That was the account. It was so funny too because I was on a Sony account. You know, it's like I could never get away from Sony.
You can never get away from brands. Sometimes they suck you in.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Pretty much. And yeah, so MRY has given me some insights, like I was saying, in terms of like marketing. Right now, Gabriel, it's just a one-man enterprise. I just want to get it out. If I have the means to do it financially, then let's just get these suckers out the door. So, but I am kind of missing that community component, like when you crowdfund, you know, but it will also help free me up to kind of put some of the things I learned at MRY into practice. And a lot of that comes from obviously social media and just doing a lot of viral marketing. And that's pretty much all I've been doing at the moment, mostly on Instagram. I'm really, really big on IG, you know, and then whatever I post on Instagram goes to like Facebook and Twitter. But since comics are a very visual medium, Instagram is the platform of choice for that. Yeah. So MRY has kind of taught me how to come up with these unique hashtags and different content buckets and like content calendars and like, you know, this is what you should be focusing on this week. And then next week, when I remember, this is what I should be focused on. And you know, come up with a hashtag that when people put it in, you know, it brings up your content and stuff like that. But again, this is like a one-man enterprise. Hopefully I'll just be able to hire somebody like Amanda Younger to do it eventually and just do this. Just be my marketing person and do that. You can always send me to all of the cons and I will set up the booth. And there you go. There you go. I'll probably hold you to that. You know. I know. You know. I mean, obviously. Got issues 1, 2, 3. We're on 4. Get ready for 5 and 6 later. But would you like the whole bucket? Let's get the whole set. Well, that's what they do actually. Special totes. Here we go. Well, that's what they do at these conventions. Yep. Which obviously we haven't been able to have this year because of COVID. But normally at conventions, like I go to LA ComicCon. I've been the last couple of years promoting my book, and I've had booths at these conventions. And right now, you know, at like the last convention, I had 1 book out. You know, this year I'll have at least 2 books out, and you know, and growing. But what they do at these conventions is they do what you said. They like package them all together, like buy a set. You know, you can buy them individually, or get the set for $10 or $20 or whatever. Right. $20 off. Yeah. They want to get the posters, you know, they want to get like the figurines, they want to get like the little pens and stuff like that. So, and that's what, you know, people kind of go to conventions for, is to get these kind of unique items. And then, oh yeah, there's the book too. But it's mostly for, you know, for that kind of stuff and for the swag. And so, yeah, in fact, the book is available now, and you know, by the time this airs, you know, you can get it on the website. We'll have it. We'll have a little website. Yeah. We'll make sure that it's in the copy. Everyone needs to go. And then they can also get it all digitally, like on Amazon and Comicology and stuff like that. Yes, and they can also order print copies of it too. It's available. Like anybody that's viewing this in the LA area, it's at local comic shops, but if you're in New York or anywhere else, then you can just go to the website and order a print copy and we'll send it to you. So, but yeah, you can get it digitally. also on the website. But the website's actually a little bit more than just like a place where you can buy the books. It's also kind of like so the Shattered Star universe kind of lives on the website.
Okay.
And eventually this whole living, breathing IP is going to be really, really sort of more of an interactive experience is what I'm building it out to be. Yeah. Because what I really kind of want to showcase with this IP is the universe itself. So the current book that's coming out right now is mostly based on the ancient Norse religion. So the subtitle is Odin. So it's about how Gabriel actually visits the Norse pantheon, and he's going to talk to Odin about basically helping him in his fight against Yahweh. And Gabriel's eventually going to visit all the pantheons. So like we're saying, it's a 6-part series. So he's going to go to all these different pantheons. So he's going to go to the Greeks. He's going to go to the Egyptians. He's going to go to the Indians. He's going to go to the Chinese. And he's basically going to be like, hey, bros, I need your help. I got this like really, really angry God back in Israel. And he's really just like wrecking stuff. And so I need your guys' help. So it's a mix of all these different ancient traditions and cultures. Mm-hmm. And these other projects that are in development touch on, I guess you would say, some of the lesser known traditions. Like, for example, I can give you an exclusive. One of the new titles is called Magi. And Magi is basically going to take place in the present day, but it's going to be about Persian history and Iranian culture. And what a lot of people don't realize is, like, for example, if you're reading a Harry Potter book or playing any fantasy game, and you hear the word mage or wizard or sorcerer or something like that, all that really means, anytime you hear the word magic or magi, all that basically means is follower of Zoroaster, priest of Zoroaster. Zoroastrianism, was a very ancient religion in Iran back in the day. And so Magi kind of deals with, I don't want to give too much away, but it kind of deals with Zarathustra, who in that story, Zarathustra is a title, so it's not the actual like person, but it's a title. And he heads up kind of like the order of Magi. And they watch over like the hidden city. And this is going to be kind of like how the Shattered Star universe deals with magic. So there's going to be like elves and orcs and all that stuff that you would see in like the Tolkien world exist in Magi. And it's going to be about like the manifestation wars and all that stuff, and kind of explain where these different races like elves, where they come from, where the orcs come from, where the dwarves come from. And this is where magic comes from. Magic just means follower of Zoroaster. They were priests of Zoroaster. And it gets into like Emperor Darius the First, who was the emperor of the Achaemenid Empire, and it really delves into the history of the Persian Empire and where magic comes from and all that stuff. Fantastic. So that's in development as well. So I unfortunately don't have time to write that story, so I will be bringing on a writer to write it, but the story itself and the outline is done in my head. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of what I'm trying to do with this IP. I'm trying to build out a sandbox so that different writers from all different kinds of cultures and traditions can write a story in this sandbox. But it ties into the overall like IP. It ties into the Shattered Star universe. And Teen1 watching this, and that's a very significant event in this whole saga. So that's, this is pretty much, I had like a publisher tell me that I've created for myself some lifelong work. Like I was about to say, it was like a lot of work. I could potentially be doing this for the rest of my life, So, and that's cool. This is always been a hobby of mine. When I did Margot, that play in New York, it was kind of a retelling of Faust. And I've just always had a connection to classic and ancient literature and storytelling. So all I'm doing with all this stuff is I'm retelling the classics. That's all it is. And just kind of like tying them together. And I'm trying to like, I would love for people, particularly young people, will pick up my comic and they'll see like an editor's note and they'll Google it. And they'll just say, oh, what's that? And then they'll Google it and they'll realize, holy crap, that's what that means. That's really cool,
Yeah.
And they'll just be kind of like, those old, I don't know if you remember back in the day, I think it was on VH1 or whatever, they had the pop-up music videos.
Pop-up video.
Pop-ups.
Yeah.
Pop-up video. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm doing with Gabriel, except there's editor's notes. Now, eventually I'm going to have like, ARG, like there'll be like a more like, ARG experience where like, or I guess an AR experience where like you can hover over like the comic and then a pop-up will come out, and say, this is from 5th century Ireland or something, just to kind of, again, entertain, but also educate a little bit. So I was going to say Game of Thrones, if you want to know, like anyone watching this or listening to this and they're like, well, what, why should I, really get into Gabriel? I mean, obviously if you're into fantasy and stuff, but I would say two things. If you're into like Neil Gaiman, if you ever read like Sandman or anything like that, or, Neil Gaiman fans will like this. But if you're a Game of Thrones fan, or I guess specifically a Song of Ice and Fire fan, if you're a fan of the books, you'll love the Shattered Star universe because it is designed to be a massive living, breathing world, a living, breathing universe, just building out this world, which is what George R. R. Martin did with his books. And so when you watch the TV show, like you said, I mean, I hadn't read the books like you did. So you were pointing out to me like, oh, that's actually from the book. Like, it's like, do you know what that song means, Chad? It's actually from this. I'm like, but that's the reason why. Yeah, but it's like, but that's why there were so many like fans of that IP, why people were obsessed over it, because of the stuff that you noticed. Like, like Chad, you probably won't know this because you didn't read the book, but you see that banner in the background? Yeah. That means blah, 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 blah. That actually ties back to this or whatever. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm kind of doing. I even have a George R. R. Martin beard now, I guess.
You're getting it. You're getting there. I think the thing is like you became Odin. I think that's you've fallen into the characters.
No, I became quarantine. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the world building, and I love building. I'm an okay writer. I'm a better storyteller, but I'm a really good world builder. Like world building is what I really kind of like to do. I'll just spend days, weeks, and months just building out the world before I finally put the characters into it. And so that's why, like,
it's amazing. It's already in your head. You've
all of them
into it, and you.
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, 2's about to come out, but let me tell you about 4 because that's where I am right now.
Yeah. It's like, well, all the books have been written already. It's so now it's just a matter of rolling them out. Yeah. Now I'm just kind of opening up my head and saying, "Whoop, world, this is what's in my head."
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, if you're really into A Song of Ice and Fire, then this is kind of tailor made for you because every single word, every single line, every single image ties into something much greater. So
I love that. I love layers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I am one of the purchasers of the printed version of Gabriel. The first edition is just not here.
We'll get that.
But I am one of those peeps. But what you should, whatever. You're going to figure out your marketing. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about Game of Thrones going to HBO is, that writing then came to, tons of different people. And it really just kind of opened the whole world for me. But it actually took, it going to that mass media step for me to even know that it existed.
Right.
And then I was thankfully, given a book by a roommate who loves fantasy and has been following it for years. It sounds like, even though Gabriel itself has 6 editions, you've already created a world online that's going to create this community and engagement and like further stories outside, like within that universe, but not within that linear story, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you go to the website and you see like some of the menus, like the menu across the top, you'll see War of Virtue.
I know when I go to New York ComicCon, and I've been, I think, well, I've gone about 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it's not happening this year, but it happened multiple times where I walk through, there's a couple of tables where I have the guys with the books, and they're like, hey, here's one. I can give you a whole package for 3. And I'm like, I'll just take one. And it's the actual author. And I go, oh, well, now I feel like I need to get all 3. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
I just thought you were just the marketing guy. And then, and then I always go down into Artist Alley, where all the independent guys are. And it's the illustrators, it's, the colorists, and they're all just trying to, they kind of network and try and find each other. And then there's always someone like Jamie Foxx that shows up and is like, I'll sign things. And people are like, what's going on in Artist Alley?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But for the most part, that great part about Comic-Con, it's not just, the big guys are there and they have the large experiences. What do you think? I mean, I guess it's a good thing that everything's on hold for right now, huh?
Yeah. It's obviously, it's a very challenging time for comics. Well, it's a challenging time for everyone, really, but especially folks in the entertainment industry. Hollywood is essentially shut down, and the comic book industry in particular has been hit very, very hard by the shutdowns and by the pandemic. But for a small indie guy like me, again, it's like my life hasn't changed that much, but and that's mostly because I just don't have the merchandise really yet. I mean, I'm building it, and so right now,
but really what stalling and giving you time to get your stuff,
essentially. But what I am missing out on is that kind of interaction that you were talking about, being able to go to LA, being able to go to LA Comic-Con, being able to go, I had a booth there last year, being able to network, being able to talk to people, just come up from the local reviewers from some of the local magazines will just come up and say, hey, I'd like to interview you about, Gabriel or whatever. That's the kind of interaction I'm missing. And of course, potential fans, you get to meet people face to face. You get to talk with them, like you said. You meet the author, and you're more inclined to buy the set or whatever. You
end up immediately talking to them longer. You're like, oh,
right.
Oh, hey. Oh, well, then talk to me a little bit more. I thought you were just a marketing guy. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff I miss. Being able to have these kinds of interactions. Like my booth might look interesting, and then they come over, and then they find out I'm the actual writer and the creator, and then they end up buying a few copies, and then, I give them a card, and I take a picture with them on Instagram, and suddenly I have a fan, and so those are the kinds of interactions that I'm lacking right now, that we're all lacking. And it's really difficult to try to, raise awareness, and build buzz, as I used to say at MRY, when there's no one around to see that buzz, really, because, everything is kind of shut down. So everything is online right now, So, but like you were saying, the silver lining in all this is when stuff does open up again, I'll be ready to go with more content. I'll be ready to go with some of those things that we talked about, like some T-shirts, some things like that. So that
I'll just write more, and when this comes up, look at all this stuff I wrote.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the goal here. Whenever I have to go back to work, is I spent my quarantine not only growing a beard, but writing a lot. So, so it's actually been really good in that way.
I mean,
but you're right in that as far as comics are concerned or whatever, there's going to be a ton of written material that's kind of ready to go, and I'll be one of them. It's I don't know if I'll have the whole Gabriel series done by whenever this is over, but a good chunk of it, will certainly be done, as well as Magi and some of these other projects that I've got going on as well.
Yeah, I've been telling a lot of people, I've been calling it a time of reflection, especially for those of us that are in the event industry and doing events. It's been, we kind of get into this cycle of where we are, planning and producing, and then we execute, and then we go to the next one. Like, you just keep working.
Right.
And so like, this has been like a moment to pause and actually say, how can I, do my thing better? How can we do our thing better?
Yeah.
What have I been missing that I now have, being that I'm currently like breaking this machine that I've been on, this hamster wheel that I've been on to pay my rent and have this job and do this thing and make it better. Like, now I get to get off the hamster wheel and just kind of look at it. And I think that's what a lot of people have been doing. But it sounds like for you, it kind of gave you this air to breathe for your creation, rather than having to think about, how do I market this? And I don't forget, I got to make the merch, and I got to make the thing, and I got to make the stuff so that people will come and buy it. Instead, you've gotten some free time to create. And that's really all anyone who's a creator is looking for, is just time without distractions and without those crazy deadlines, and without those other exterior needs, to be like, hey, I can pay rent, but now I've got all this extra time to do stuff that is
one of the myriad jobs I had in New York City. One of them was as a reader for the Lark Play Development Center, which is in Midtown Manhattan. It's like by Times Square. And the Lark is pretty well known in the theater community in New York City. And I was part of the lit wing group, or the literary wing group. And what I did was I read plays like from new playwrights, and we would select them for Playwrights Week, which was basically like the winner of Playwrights Week would get like a fully funded like stage reading and all that. And the whole point of the Lark Play Development Center was to help kind of writers find their voice, to try to get their play to where they wanted it to be. And in many ways, one of the programs that the Lark had was a program where a writer could basically like the Lark would pay like their rent for a year, would give them money for like groceries. And the idea was to see, what could a writer do? What could an artist do if they didn't have to worry about all those external pressures? If they didn't have to worry about working a day job, if they didn't have to worry about, and in a weird way, that's exactly what's happened with this quarantine. It's kind of like, I've been kind of fortunate enough where, I still have a job, so I'm still able to pay rent.
And I love this, and I think this is a great way to end it, because I think, the expectations and hope is that all of these great things that you've had in your head, you've been able to put down on paper, digital, or whatnot. And that, like, out of this is going to be some amazing creations coming from writers, not just yourself, but all over, and hopefully we'll be able to reap that benefit as consumers, and we'll be able to enjoy this beautiful immersive world. This is why I wanted to invite you on, and it's because I believe in your project, and I think it's amazing, and I believe in you, and I look forward to reading so much of this universe and being a part of it. I know that I'm following Shattered Star. I know everyone that's listening is going to as well. I know that I've been adoring TV right now, so don't worry about your day job. I know that it's also doing well.
Yeah.
Friday, that you're doing a great job. We are everything on TV.
No. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for kind of highlighting this universe, this brand new fledgling baby universe that is growing, still in its infancy, but it's definitely growing. And I think my expectation and hope is exactly what you said, but I would add kind of what I said earlier. It's to entertain, but also to educate. I'm trying to remind humanity. I don't mean for this to sound lofty or whatever, but I am trying to remind the people of where we came from, the original stories. Like this is where the cultures come from. So I think my hope is to have people Google stuff. I want them to kind of look at my book and then immediately go to their phones or go to their tablets and Google stuff and say, oh, what's that? And then have their mind blown, just like, like, wow, I had no idea that. Yeah, well, in a few months, the third book, so we'll be right back here talking about the third book. So,
absolutely. All right, you heard it here first. C.K. Reilly returning for the third book.
Yes, for the third book, and the second book is available now. By the time people are listening to this, it's available now. You can go to the website, theshatterstar.com, and you can get copies of it there.
Absolutely. And look forward to talking to you more about it.
You too, Amanda. It was so good seeing you and talking with you.
Yeah. All right. You gotta dance off because there's outro music.
Oh, there's outro music? All right. Well, I don't know if you can see me, but I'll do a little.